Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful to be here. What we're going to be talking about are the different cultures that men and women grow up in, and how as a result of growing up in these different cultures, we have different rules about what appropriate adult behavior is. But the hitch is we don't know we have different rules, and we often tend to get irritated at the other gender. So, and if we understand the rules of the other gender, we're going to be more effective working with them, managing them, recruiting to them, and selling to them. So I'd like to talk about some of these different rules today. Now, let me start with an example. About 15 years ago, I started my own business. And when I started my business, I needed to get various kinds of insurance. So I called some people that had been recommended to me, and the first salesman shows up. And his agenda clearly is to talk at me, to present at me. This isn't an interaction where he talks and I talk and he talks, but he's talking at me. I jettison him because he clearly doesn't understand what I need. Second fellow shows up and he starts selling me what he's going to make the most money at. And I realized after a little while that this isn't looking out for my best needs, this is about him. So I jettison him. The third salesman shows up and he starts pushing me to make a decision faster than I'm ready. So I jettison him because he doesn't want me to make the best decision, he wants me to make it on his timeline. So I decided after those three experiences that I was going to try to find a saleswoman. And Sherry Knight came to my office. And she sat down, and for some length of time, she talked about her business. She wanted to understand my business, where it is now, where I wanted to take it. We also talked about what it was like being a business owner, the fun parts about it, the scary parts about it. And I really felt, not that she just got to know me, but I got to know her as well. And she helped me through the decision process, and I finally ended up buying the insurance that I still have today, 15 years later, and I'm still very happy with. But more importantly, what she did is she developed a relationship with me. And as a result of developing that relationship, now whenever I need any kind of insurance, she is the first person that I call. I am attached to the hip with Sherry Knight because she understood how to sell to me. That what we're going to be focusing on is what research tells us about gender differences in the work setting. And as you will know, when we're looking at research, what we're looking at is the bell curve of humanity. So we're going to be looking about what most women are like, we're going to be looking at what most men are like, and to talk about that bell curve, we're going to be talking about the middle of the bell curve, which is to say there's always two tails, there's always exceptions to everything that we're going to be talking about, and at some point you may say, well, it's not really like me, and it may not be like you because you may be on one of the tails of the bell curve, but the only way that we can talk about gender differences is to generalize about the middle of the bell curve. So let's talk about some of these rule differences. One of the big ones, in my opinion, causes just a ton of grief, is the hierarchy versus the flat structure. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about here. I was speaking to a group of physicians, and one of them came up to me during the break, mid-20s, I'd say, and she said, I'm a medical student, and now I understand what happened to me last week. She said, last week I was delivering my first baby. She was being supervised by this male physician. And she said, I had just delivered the baby. And she said, I don't know if you know, but it's a big mess after babies. It's a big mess everywhere. She said, I started to clean up the mess, and the physician supervising her said, don't do that. That's what the nurse is supposed to do. She said, I looked at the nurse standing over in the corner who was still clean and wondered why I'd stop in the middle of this and have her get messed up when I could just finish it up myself. Now, this is a woman caught between two worlds. The hierarchical world of medicine where she's being educated, or the flat culture that she came from. I said, so what'd you do? She said, well, I did what he told me to do. And I said, well, I think that makes the most sense because that's where your success is hinged right now. Now, some months after that, I was talking to another group of physicians, and one of them came up to me afterwards, and she said, I'm a physician, and I was trained in Australia. In Australia, the midwives teach the medical students how to do deliveries. She said, this is how I learned to do the delivery. After delivery, you take the drapes off, take them over, put them in the washing machine, start the washer, come back, mop the floor, clean the baby, comb its hair, and present it to the mother. Now, can you see how different that activity is when taught in a flat culture? Again, it is not about what is right or wrong or good or bad. It's just that we have these different sets of rules. So let me give you a couple examples about how we communicate differently because of these different sets of rules.